He's an eccentric acting genius who becomes the unlikely face of Disney's most lucrative franchise ever.
The man is amazing.
Depp is a franchise. There's a very good chance this will break the bank in the best way.
I'm Captain Jack Sparrow.
But while Johnny Depp's mega fame buys him private islands, his private life spirals out of control.
With a lot of great artists, he is a fundamentally broken person.
If he's not rebelling, then he's not himself.
He was drinking pretty heavily.
Like he's in a la la land.
And allegations threaten to destroy his career and his life.
Did Johnny brutalize you?
It seems that all hell broke loose between the two of them.
The actress claims she was abused by Depp.
People had their knives out.
But Johnny Depp will always be the captain of the comeback.
I keep wondering about the word comeback because I didn't go anywhere.
It's 1987. An edgy new cop drama is about to premiere on a new TV network called Fox. It stars a fresh-faced bad boy, and America tunes in.
21 Jump Street became a hit.
Johnny Depp seemed to be the one that people really cared about. I don't know that that show really takes off without that young, pouty face. He had the leather jacket, he had the greasy sort of James Dean hair. He was sort of like a safe bad boy. Do you know, he was like a bad boy that you could bring home to your mom.
He's new to Hollywood, but he's blowing up faster than even he realizes.
I'll never forget it because I was walking through a department store and I looked down and here's Johnny's face plastered on some little boy's underwear. And I had to laugh. I was like, I know that guy.
Johnny Depp was born in rural Kentucky in 1963. As the youngest of 4 children, Johnny wasn't able to have much of a childhood.
He saw a kind of rage in his mother at the circumstances in which she found herself, which was to have, 4 kids, multiple marriages, certain instability in their lives. I'm Michael Blitz. I've written an unauthorized biography of Johnny Depp. Around age 12 or 13, he began to play guitar with some real seriousness. He spent days and days locked in his room playing guitar.
Johnny allegedly began experimenting with drugs and alcohol like many young teens. The family moves dozens of times, finally settling in Florida. At 16, Johnny drops out of high school to form a band called The Kids.
Bill Hanty here, also known as Bino, the original and only drummer from The Kids, featuring my friend Johnny Depp on lead guitar. The rock scene was really starting to explode on South Florida then. Our first show with Johnny Depp, it was like magic. It really was. It was magic. He was incredibly handsome, pretty, Adonis. He was just that shy, secretive kind of energy, the vibe, the way he moved on stage. It was very subtle, but very powerful.
It was obvious from a young age that Johnny had the it factor to make him a star.
We were brothers. It was a family. It was a camaraderie, no doubt about it. We had a huge fan base. We brought the girls into the clubs. So with that said, it's like, hey guys, where you want to go tonight? Oh, the kids are playing. Well, there's going to be a room full of babes. So if you bring the girls in, you automatically bring the guys in. The club owners knew that. They loved it. It was just a hedonistic free-for-all. You just can't imagine. Drugs, drinking, sex on the beach.
After the band conquers the Sunshine State, they look west for the next adventure.
We were warned not to go with no uncertainty. They said, do not go to LA. It's a huge mistake. So we decided that LA was the place that we needed to go. We were a totally different band when we hit Los Angeles. And the vibe wasn't there. I didn't feel the energy anymore. It was a totally different animal. We were starving. There was just no money coming in at all. At that point, Johnny had befriended Nicolas Cage. Nicolas used to come to see some of the shows. So Johnny came into rehearsal one day and he said, hey man, I'm gonna go do this reading. for A Nightmare on Elm Street.
What's going on?
Johnny gets the part. It's a breakout performance in the horror hit, introducing him to audiences and kickstarting his career in Hollywood.
If we didn't go to LA, then there would be no Johnny Depp, would there?
But it's the cop show that will make him a teen idol.
We'll find him. Then what?
He lands the role of a brooding undercover cop in a high school in 21 Jump Street.
His standout quality was his looks. I don't think people realized what a good actor Johnny was. I'm Stephen Williams. I played Captain Fuller on 21 Jump Street. That was the era of lots of alcohol, marijuana, and cocaine.
When Depp started 21 Jump Street, I think he believed that it would be a short run and that he would probably get bored of it pretty quickly. And he did get bored of it fairly quickly, but the fans did not get bored of it. So it ended up being a full-run series, wildly popular.
21 Jump Street becomes a bona fide hit, especially with teen girls. They want more of this heartthrob, and the network delivers. He's marketed as Hollywood's next sex symbol, but that's not what Johnny wants.
The only thing wrong with the teen idol thing is that people label you and they stick you in a spot and they won't let you out of it.
Torn between mainstream acting success and wanting to play music, he begins to lash out.
First time shows had been shot in Vancouver, British Columbia. And we didn't know anyone. So we tended to stick together. We didn't know where Johnny was or what he was doing. He kept me off balance anyway.
I wanted to get fired from that show. And I tried for 2 years, and they wouldn't fire me.
After a wild night out with the cast, Johnny gets into a fight with a hotel security guard, which lands him in cuffs.
They were painting him in Hollywood as this kind of edgy, bad boy character. I'm Molly McPherson. I work with people who are in the public eye dealing with a very public crisis.
Johnny, were you worried about the impact it could have had on your career?
When he was arrested in Vancouver, the charges were certainly shocking, but they aligned with his brand.
I really never got the impression that he was a rebel.
Let him get
This is an intense business. When you become popular and famous and rich and well-liked, he might have been overwhelmed. Might be a word that I might want to use relative to what was happening to him.
Johnny is charged with mischief and assault, and soon after leaves 21 Jump Street. Now a free man, he's able to go back and play his music. But the bad boy had gotten a taste of fame, and he's sucked back into the Hollywood vortex.
Johnny Depp has never been a fan of having tons of fans, as ironic as that may sound. Fans are disruptive to him.
Especially disruptive when he wants to party. So Johnny takes matters into his own hands, buying a nightclub on Sunset Boulevard for him and his famous friends. He names it the Viper Room.
The Viper Room became a big celebrity hangout. I'm Morgan Tremaine. I'm a former TMZ staffer. One of the celebrities who would hang out there was River Phoenix.
But just 2 months after it opens, tragedy strikes at the Viper Room.
Sunset and Larrabee, it's at the Viper Room. Okay, what's the address, sir? Do you know? What's the address to the fucking club? Okay, sir. Sir, calm down a little bit, okay? I'm sorry, it's my brother. Please come here.
Johnny's good friend River Phoenix is lying on the ground outside the club. He's OD'd and unconscious.
I mean, the fans freaked out. This was someone who had a ton of promise and will unfortunately go before their time.
He was rushed to Cedars-Sinai Hospital, where police say he died 50 minutes later.
At this point in time, the exact cause of death is still under investigation.
Johnny is swept up in the controversy.
A lot of people were looking for someone to blame. There were some stories in what were very much like supermarket rags saying that Johnny Depp gave the drugs that killed River Phoenix to River. However, there is no evidence of that whatsoever. This was a friend. It was this young kid who died at his venue, which was, bad enough, but then to be falsely blamed for it, it's traumatic.
His whole life did kind of a 180, didn't it? Things changed drastically.
the guy. Okay, we have help on the way, all right? I know.
As his friend River Phoenix lies dying outside the Viper Room, Johnny Depp's world begins to collapse.
I went out the door, and the paramedics were working on. I didn't know at the time that it was River.
I can't imagine having to live with that. I really can't.
That's the moment in the Johnny Depp timeline where people started to look at him a little bit differently. People were surprised to hear that Johnny Depp had a business venture that was a part of the death of a rising actor.
While the world mourns the death of River Phoenix and Johnny gets pulled into the negative press, he takes a break from the spotlight.
Johnny Depp, for a while, especially after the death of River Phoenix, tried to wean himself off of anything and failed at it. Some say that's why he succeeded in more of his life after that, but he failed at really kind of straightening himself out.
There's been a lot of low points in Johnny Depp's life. He's had a lot of people who are his closest confidants just disappear. And I think that weighs on a person, especially when you're that big of a celebrity and there's probably not a lot of people you can trust.
Realizing he's on a destructive path, Johnny shakes out of it long enough to make a critical decision in his young career. He decides to seek out the roles he wants, not the ones the studio wants, and he hires a legendary acting coach to help him.
I saw his talent immediately. I'm Eric Morris, and I worked with Johnny Depp early in his career on the movie Crybaby. He was articulate, bright, and everything I asked him to do or suggested, he just met with open arms and he would do it, try it and do it.
Just the fact that he would do a John Waters movie in the first place, somebody who is definitely outside the mainstream, it let me know, okay, this guy is sort of in it for the art more than maybe your typical teen idol. My name is Christian Finnegan, and I'm a stand-up comedian. He knew to pick interesting roles. I think that made him seem even better than he was.
Johnny, as far as I know, was a natural. He was an absolute natural as an actor.
The movie of his that I love the most is What's Eating Gilbert Grape, which is a movie that is really a kind of a quiet masterpiece, in my opinion, and is sort of relatable to any kid who felt a responsibility to a family member.
Don't be rude.
Johnny Depp appeared and starred in a number of more psychological movies. These were characters where Depp could both be and appear to be so introspective in ways that almost you couldn't escape yourself.
Audiences connect with Depp's quirky but heartfelt performances.
His characters, they're all a little broken too. And so he's able to work through some of his own issues through his characters, whether it's Edward Scissorhand or even Mad Hatter in Alice in Wonderland.
Johnny soon becomes one of Hollywood's most sought-after actors.
He's the most versatile actor in the world. I mean, you could put Johnny Depp on a twin bill, playing two different characters on the same movie and not recognizing either one of them. He is that versatile. It's incredible.
He was super avant-garde. He was doing really weird stuff and being very method and anti-Hollywood movie star.
Really, I gotta go now. I'll talk to you sometime. Take care.
Yeah. I'm sure it's simply fun, and this person is pushing that way.
With his career skyrocketing, Johnny lands a dream role in a movie based on a book by one of his favorite authors.
It just so happens that Hunter Thompson was aware of Johnny Depp, and it was Hunter Thompson who went to Johnny Depp and said, "They're going to make a movie about me. Do you want to be me?" And Johnny Depp jumped.
Hunter S. Thompson was the person that Johnny Depp was born to be.
Hunter Thompson was one of the kinds of writers that literally bursts on a scene because he defined a way of writing.
Johnny developed a fascination to him.
Hunter Thompson would show up on the set for Fear and Loathing. Johnny Depp was almost going over the top, getting so wrapped up in the role that Hunter Thompson would decide, you need a break. Which meant, let's go drink for 2 days and not call anybody and not tell anybody anything.
Johnny Depp always seems to have had kind of a love-hate relationship with being an actor. Like, I think he clearly loves to act, But you've always sort of felt him push against the notions of like, I'm an actor. He's like, no, man, I'm an artist and I can't be constrained by the notions of what being a Hollywood actor is. And so the idea of playing this guy who sort of had a similar relationship with journalism probably appealed to him. And so it makes sense that they would sort of, do a mind meld. I think Johnny Depp wanted to be Hunter Thompson, and Hunter Thompson probably looked at Johnny Depp and be like, I was like that guy. It was a match made in heaven.
Johnny Depp's goal as an actor was, I need to actually make these characters from scratch. Playing Hunter Thompson allowed him to combine that desire to create characters from his own imagination, but also to use this language like a musical instrument.
Devil ether. It makes you behave like the village drunkard in some early Irish novel.
Even Hunter Thompson had to admit, he's me.
Yeah, well, whatever you want to do, I'll be there.
One of the things about Johnny Depp, as unique as he is in every role, is he not only absorbs the characters that he portrays, but he keeps a little of all of them.
Playing Hunter Thompson changes Johnny forever. He's now lit with an addiction-fueled fire, and people start to notice.
How are you, man? I'm sorry, guys.
Whoa! You dropped Johnny!
I think Johnny is a really, really, really good actor and a really bad movie star.
Bad behavior fuels a bad boy image, but big offers keep coming.
As his brand grew, so did this brand and idea of Johnny Depp, the bad boy. He was the opposite of the golden boy. There is the pinup Brad Pitt. Johnny Depp is much different than a Brad Pitt, and that is also by design. Hollywood wanted to support this bad boy image. It made money for them. It certainly sold tickets.
But this bad boy doesn't stay single for long. In 1994, Johnny meets supermodel Kate Moss in New York City, and they begin dating.
It was just powerhouse. It was the kind of thing that the media absolutely would eat up and would try to get a photo of any situation humanly possible and any story.
A budding A-lister like Moss needs to feed the tabloid coverage, but Johnny feels uneasy in the spotlight, and he turns to alcohol and drugs again, to disastrous results.
Did you say what happened? Yeah, I met some nice people here.
A wild night in a 5-star hotel threatens to derail Johnny Depp's career.
Johnny famously got arrested outside of the Mark Hotel in New York for trashing it. He did this famous perp walk, he had this cool green beanie. There was a rumor that it was because he and his girlfriend Kate Moss were fighting, and ultimately he paid $10,000 to the hotel.
Did you say what happened? Yeah, I met some nice people here.
He defies a certain level of expectation, and that defiance often comes across as anger or rage. Mostly I would describe him, I suppose, as terminally defiant.
I don't know what actually happened that night in the hotel, but the official story, according to Johnny, was that an armadillo had trashed the room. True story.
All the fear and loathing in hotel rooms leads to a breakup with Kate Moss. It's Johnny's first alleged violent outburst with a girlfriend. It becomes a pattern that will haunt him in the years to come. And in the midst of controversy, Johnny finds himself back in front of the cameras.
We're making another movie.
Tim Burton's campy cult classic Ed Wood only makes $5 million. It's a major loss for the studio. Wanting to leave it all behind, Johnny jets off to Paris to film The Ninth Gate.
Reputed to conjure up the Prince of Darkness in person.
The movie is another clunker, but in the city of love, Johnny stumbles into a bistro and his life changes forever. Again.
His back and his neck. I thought, my God, what's that, And suddenly the back turned to face me, from 20, 30 yards away and made eye contact.
This time, he's finally met someone who he's ready to settle down with. French model and actor Vanessa Paradis is smart, glamorous, and sophisticated.
C'était chimique, je l'ai senti de partout, quoi. Et que voilà, quoi, parce que ça m'était déjà arrivé de tomber amoureuse.
2 years later, the couple have 2 children, Lily Rose and Jack. Johnny leans into fatherhood and makes a seemingly adult decision for once. He wants to make movies his kids can watch.
For Johnny Depp, kids are good. Let me make movies for kids, but let me make movies for the kids that I think are inside of real kids. Not the well-behaved, perfect little children, but the kids that I think are lurking there.
Who are you?
He's Willy Wonka.
That movie allowed him to kind of portray all of those things.
I worked with Johnny on Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Look over there.
They're in Olympus.
Oh, freaks.
My name is Deep Roy. I remember the very first time that he brought his son on the set. He was a great father, great dad. He was such a laid-back guy. He gets a bad rap from the press. To be honest with you, yes, he's a bad boy and he's a good boy. So, it goes both ways.
But good or bad, there's no disputing his acting talent, and he leverages that in his next brilliant movie.
The smartest move that Johnny Depp made was taking on the role of Jack Sparrow.
I think for someone as weird and maybe avant-garde as Johnny, for him to be in Disney and to make the kind of money he made as Jack Sparrow is, you don't get much better than that.
And 3, 2, 1, hit!
He developed this character, the Jack Sparrow character,
Gentlemen,
which was not the original Jack Sparrow character. The Jack Sparrow character was this swashbuckling pirate looking to rape and pillage. But in fact, he became this strangely sensitive, strangely vulnerable pirate. He scared a few people at Disney. He fascinated quite a few people at Disney. He saw that he could develop this character to have more and more idiosyncratic weaknesses rather than strengths. And the weaknesses would be his strength as this character, because it would make him human, it would make him puzzling, which he always likes to be.
Action. That was it.
People have argued that the pirate movies were, in some ways, kind of campy, and they were, in many ways. But it also is one of the most sophisticated characters that Johnny Depp has ever played, because he's using accents, he's using a certain amount of athleticism, a certain amount of charm, but also this kind of bewildered, like, why am I in this world?
Once again, Johnny decides to do things his way.
I think Johnny Depp's idea was, if they don't like it, they can get rid of me. And that's almost always been his approach. If you don't like it, I'll move on. And let's face it, Disney is a business, and they recognized Depp is himself a franchise. There's a very good chance this will break the bank in the best way.
The risk for Disney and Johnny pays off big time. The 5-film Pirates franchise goes on to rake in $4.5 billion worldwide. And Johnny's cut of the booty makes him one rich pirate. By 2012, the Guinness Book of World Records declares him the world's highest paid actor. He celebrates with a spending spree, buying multiple homes, a private island, and wine. Lots of wine.
Johnny loves his red wine. So do I. I remember staying at Johnny's place, his Eastern building in LA downtown. I haven't seen a wine cellar like that in my entire life. He had the whole floor of Eastern building, and the wine cellar was absolutely phenomenal. It was almost like $10,000 a bottle. How much Johnny Depp spends on a wine? 2 cents? That's funny. But I think there's no limit.
But all the money in the world can't console him when his marriage is on the rocks. Johnny is devastated as his family fractures.
Johnny reacted to it in a really visceral way. I know that it had a really, really negative effect on him.
You all spoke about recently becoming single. Has that been a strange adjustment for you?
The strangest thing is just that, in terms of adjustment, is just making sure that everybody's okay.
And he does what he always does when he's down in the dumps. He throws himself headfirst into his work. But Johnny Depp is about to ignite a fire that will threaten his image like nothing before. Johnny Depp has lost the love of his life. He's estranged from the mother of his children. While his despair settles in, he begins work on his next role. He transforms himself into the famed Native American character, Tonto. Tonto was created in the 1930s as a subservient sidekick to the heroic Lone Ranger at a time when cowboys versus Indians meant good versus bad, civilized versus uncivilized. The name Tonto translates to fool. Johnny sets out to change that narrative.
Johnny has always been excited about the fact that his heritage is complex and rich in terms of ethnicity and ancestry, but his idea was to portray Tonto in a way that added dignity to the role and to portray him as the Lone Ranger's equal partner.
He takes his usual method approach to becoming Tonto, but from the moment the trailer drops, the criticism comes in fast and furious.
There were always notions of what cultural appropriation meant, and people started seeing these things in a way that they hadn't before. And it feels like that term came to prominence between when that movie was shot and when it came out. It felt very like, hey, have you not been paying attention to what we're all talking about right now?
This was like the beginning of this whole played out drama.
All right. Let's do this.
Although proud of his Native American ancestry, audiences only see him as another white guy. Critics pan him. Native groups call for a boycott. Disney takes a $190 million hit, but somehow Johnny avoids being taken down with it.
It may have buried an actor who wasn't as established in the firmament as Johnny Depp, but at the time, it felt uncomfortable, but nobody could really put their finger on, like, is this just weird or is it bad?
Johnny pushes through the storm. And on the set of his next film, finds yet another beauty who sweeps him off his feet. She's up-and-coming blonde bombshell Amber Heard.
He's an incredibly talented actor, and he's wonderful to be around.
Johnny, are you dating Amber Heard?
Johnny and Amber begin dating in secret while on the press junket for the Rum Diary. They fall madly in love. After a quick romance, the two get married on Johnny's private island in the Bahamas. It seems like he's found his forever love. But like most of Johnny's relationships, it isn't long before things go south. The honeymoon turns into a nightmare. And barely a year after the wedding, Johnny's marriage and life begin to unravel. In 2016, cops are called to a Los Angeles apartment for a domestic disturbance.
Amber? You okay? Johnny is definitely not here.
Days later, Amber is seen outside a courthouse. She files for divorce and gets a restraining order against Johnny. And the media notices a black eye. Rumors begin to swirl about the toxic relationship that was coming to an end.
Heard says this injury was a result of Depp throwing a cell phone at her and pulling her hair during a drug and alcohol-fueled rage.
Stunning allegations threatened to end Johnny's career.
She had been reporting the abuse for the 4 years of their relationship. My name is Elaine Charlson Bretta Haft, and I represented Amber Heard in the claims brought by Johnny Depp.
You think it's funny. You think you're funny. They slapped me again.
I got involved with the trial because at the time I was working at TMZ.
Not only is Johnny Depp getting divorced, but it is a bitter, nasty divorce.
Per my testimony during this trial, TMZ received a video that showed Johnny Depp having a bit of an episode in their home in which he was slamming cabinets, and it was being filmed by Amber. As far as how we got the video, it was emailed to us, and that's all I'm going to say about that. She has a camera sort of hidden behind a couple bottles. It's in their kitchen. And then she's talking to Johnny, and he's getting a glass. He's slamming a cabinet after he gets the glass, filling it up with wine, and then Johnny discovers that there is a camera and grabs the camera.
He's being very rude and belligerent to Amber. It's a very difficult video to watch.
He was drinking pretty heavily, and just the pressure of his career was finally starting just to break him down, and Amber was the icing on the cake, I guess.
And I couldn't imagine some of the stuff that was being said. Couldn't imagine him being that monster.
Months later, Amber writes an opinion piece in the Washington Post. The Me Too movement is in full swing, and she hints that she too is the victim of domestic abuse. While she doesn't name Deb, everyone makes the connection.
There was definitely an air of Amber being in the right, and Johnny should just be absolutely canceled. So there was definitely a big PR battle to be fought there.
With his career on the brink of collapse, Johnny's team immediately sues the newspaper for libel.
He is one of the most famous actors in the world, but now Johnny Depp's reputation is in tatters.
Okay. And so begins the fight for his life.
Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp is well into his fourth decade as an A-list celebrity. He's beat bad headlines before. He's even faced his demons and addiction head on. But in 2017, Depp's about to enter his darkest period yet.
He looked weary. He looked, beat up. This is a bad situation here.
Amber Heard filed for divorce 3 days after Johnny's mother died and left him 2 days after she died.
Amber Heard files for divorce and a restraining order. A British newspaper calls Johnny a wife-beater. To regain control of his reputation, he sues the newspaper for libel and loses. His legal team vows revenge back in the States while they file a defamation lawsuit against Amber and her abuse allegations. She countersues for $100 million. And the table is set for one of the most watched celebrity civil trials ever.
I love a good trial. Who doesn't love a good trial? I'm Emily D. Baker. I'm a lawyer and legal analyst. These are A-list celebrities with lots of money in a civil case. It's a really rare thing to see.
The televised trial starts, and immediately the world is transfixed by the explosive details of a relationship from hell.
Ms. Heard was well aware of my past, my childhood, therefore was very adept at knowing exactly which buttons to push.
Johnny's background lent itself to an inability to curtail impulses that he had, which sometimes are volatile and sometimes are violent. And a lot of that has come from his experiences as an adult, every bit as much as from his experiences as a child.
It seems that all relational hell broke loose in Australia between the two of them, and they ended up in a very large fight wherein Amber Heard threw a very large vodka bottle at Johnny Depp, and it caught his finger. Amber Heard's testimony is that this was a tremendously violent time for her as well, that Johnny Depp was doing handfuls of MDMA and had violently attacked her and broken a pool table, that her feet had been cut with glass throughout the house. Johnny Depp had used the blood of his finger to write on lampshades, to write on a mirror. It was an absolutely horrific scene for both of them.
The trial puts the couple's toxic relationship on display. After their breakup, Depp promised Amber he would never look her in the eyes again. He keeps his promise.
He knows he's lying. Otherwise, why can't he look at me?
It was a lot of he said, she said. And one of the biggest pieces of evidence, I think, against Amber was her admitting over a tape, an audio recording, that she did hit Johnny.
I did not deck you. I was hitting you.
But you're fine. I did not hurt you. I did not punch you. I was hitting you.
That was one of the most damning pieces of evidence in which she really came across as an abuser against Johnny.
Nobody came out of that looking, squeaky clean. But the difference is one person is a woman in her 20s with really no institutional power behind her, and the other person is an icon who has not only the money, not only the influence in the industry, but the goodwill of 2 to 3 generations of people to pick up torches on his behalf.
A chorus of boos greets Amber Heard this morning as she comes to court. It's a sharp contrast to the rock star welcome Johnny Depp got.
He developed this fan base that just adores him unconditionally.
Get out of traffic. You're gonna get hit.
They will blame whoever he might have done something wrong to. It's their fault. They asked for it. Well, Amber, what did you do to cause him to hit you? You must be the bad person here. And that's the way they thought.
Even reenacting her claims of abuse for millions of likes.
And he slapped me in my face.
About 95% of the social media wasn't just anti-Amber, it was with a purpose to annihilate Amber.
I used a bruise kit. Not a bruise kit, it's a theater makeup kit. Slapped me across the face. I turned to look at him. And I said, Johnny, you hit me.
Heard is not a victim of domestic abuse. She's the perpetrator.
There's no way she could have survived this. There's no way anyone could have survived this.
I just got off the phone with one domestic violence survivor who told me this feels to her like a modern day stoning.
The jury takes 13 hours to deliberate.
Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven, by clear and convincing evidence, that Ms. Heard acted with actual malice? Answer, yes.
Johnny is awarded $15 million in damages, but at the same time, Amber is awarded $2 million in her countersuit.
There are still very inflamed feelings about this trial because there are those that believe that the jury got it wrong and those that believe that Johnny Depp was completely vindicated. And I think that those differences of opinion aren't going to be quelled.
Johnny Depp's fall from grace comes at a time when the star was ready to settle into his golden years. While he won in court, Hollywood studios are dropping him, and the jury's out on public sentiment.
Following the trials, you could argue that Johnny Depp has emerged intact, although I think his feelings for Amber Heard have been ambivalent. The failure of that marriage and then the devolvement into rancor and litigation, I think really did a lot of damage to him. After the trial, he was in a period of mourning.
This is not cool. This situation is not cool. I saw no happiness there. Nothing.
Did his relationship with Amber Heard change everything? Yeah, of course it did. It's affected his kids, affected his career, his friendships.
And while Johnny may have lost out on lucrative roles in Pirates and Fantastic Beasts, he holds on to one deal. The beauty brand Dior renews his contract for $20 million, becoming the most lucrative men's fragrance deal of all time.
That perfume commercial where he plays Wild Thing on guitar is the most divorced middle-aged guy thing I have ever seen in my life. It just screams, it's not over! I'm still cool, but it's such an uncool person's image of what cool is.
Maybe he needed a new start, which he is going to, because he's going to be directing, so he's going to make a good director.
And if history has taught us anything, it's that Johnny Depp is Hollywood's greatest chameleon with the uncanny ability to reinvent himself again and again. In 2023, a moment of redemption. The actor receives a 7-minute standing ovation at the Cannes Film Festival for his role in Jeanne du Barry. It's a sign of life in a career flatlined by scandals. It's a sign that Johnny has been looking for. But do not call it a comeback.
I keep wondering about the word comeback because I didn't go anywhere. As a matter of fact, I live about 45 minutes away.
His work is f***ing excellent. I mean, the kid, again, is a natural and does excellent work. Motherfucker owns about 5 or 6 islands. He's just got crazy money coming from somewhere.
You know, the fame and the success and the wealth, and to absolutely feel trapped and that you were being consumed and a prisoner to your art is pretty heavy, you know, it's pretty heavy.
It's actually perfect that Johnny Depp idolizes Keith Richards because he is my generation's Keith Richards. He's this sort of unkillable force that just keeps going in the face of drugs and alcohol and time, like Count Dracula. There's always this feeling that everything is circling the drain with Johnny Depp, but it never goes down.
If you follow his career, you realize that whatever excesses that people have associated with him, whether it's drinking, drugs, acting, music, he keeps having to one-up not only himself, but one-up any expectations people have of him. His being a rebel is a necessary component to how he recognizes himself every day. If he's not rebelling, then he's not himself.
I don't know what happens to people or why they do what they do or what trip life takes them on. But I think everybody deserves to have a private life. And I think a person should be looked at and judged by their work, not what they do outside of their work. We all have a right to who we are and what we do. And sometimes what we do is unfortunate and destructive to who we are.
The last time I had a serious, heartfelt conversation with John Depp, and we were talking about just our lives in general, and he looked at me with all sincerity, and he looked at me and said, "You know, Bean," he says, I got to tell you, I envy you." I was thrown back, you know, I was like,